What is your Tyler's back with retro reviews here on Tyler's Retro Reviews with TNA Hard Justice 2006. We're going to say goodbye to these because we only have two left. But that's not going to happen like later on because I already did No Surrender 2006 and Bound for Glory 2006 2 years ago. So we'll get to those in a moment, but still. Um, this was right before that, so anyways, let's get into this. So yeah, Hard Justice 10-6, and then we're going to be continue on with these retro reviews moving forward. So there's that. August 13th at the Impact Store in Orlando, Florida. So 1 week from now will be the 20th edition of anniversary of this event, but still, it's kind of like Victor Row. It was just a week of pay-per-view, but still, it was mostly built on Sting versus Jeff Jarrett for the world title. So there's that, and also a really infamous moment from this event. Not for the matches, not Victor Row 2011 infamous. Not get into that. But if you know one thing about this pay-per-view, you know, besides the ending, which this pay-per-view is, we don't know about this, it's during the opening contest. So is that. And yeah, we'll get into that right about now. With Aragon defeating Johnny Defiant, it was just there, but the most infamous part about it was the roof got on fire, and the fans are saying the roof's on fire and all that. Which, how did the roof get on fire? They continued wrestling during it, but it was kind of hard to see through that. But yeah, live TV can bite you in the ass sometimes. Or in this case, live pay-per-view can bite you in the ass sometimes. Yeah. The match I got a 6 out of 10. And afterwards, Earl Hebner choked out Slick Johnson and all that. This was right after he got kayfabe fired, and there's that. And then afterwards, they stall after that whole fire incident. Because yeah, Hard Justice 10-6 is also notable for that the roof being on fire for a little bit. So they ran down the remaining of the matches, and then they had to stall for time because they had to clean the area up because of the whole thing, and then wrestlers cutting promos during it, and it was a weird situation, I got to say. Yeah, it was just a. Anyways, moving on from the whole thing with the fire and all that. For next up is a number one contenders match, and then after they all went back to the building and all that. A number one contenders match to determine the X Division Championship at No Surrender. Chris Sabin defeats Alex Shelley. It was a really good X Division match, and yeah, that was what it was. Sabin did not win the title at No Surrender. He won at Bound for Glory, which you obviously know about that. If you know about those two I mentioned. Still, I give a 7 out of 10. Good match. Anyways, next up, Abyss defeats Brother Runt. A quick side note. Abyss is getting on a Mattel action figure, so get used to seeing him on my pig fed soon when I get it. Yeah, that has nothing to do with this pay-per-view. I had to mention that. So, yeah. Mostly just Abyss being up Brother Run and all that. He got a mohawk and all that. Abyss brought his thumbtacks. Also, there was a ref bumping in this match. Brought the thumbtack because this is not a no DQ match, but Abyss. This was a fun little match still, and a 6.5 out of 10. Raven got involved in this, and then Samojo got involved in this because those two periods I mentioned, No Surrender 10-6 and Bound for Glory 10-6. You obviously know about those pay-per-views. I already mentioned those. Reviewed those already. And there's that. Anyways, next up is a Falls Count Anywhere match. Samoa Joe defeats Rhino and Monty Brown. This was a fun Falls Count Anywhere match between all these guys. Unfortunately, this will be Monty Brown's last pay-per-view match. Not his last match in TNA, his last pay-per-view match. And then his last match against Rhino, which ended in a no finish and all that. And then he went to WWE. The Alpha Man Marcus Corvon. Ugh. I always wonder if Monty Brown stayed in TNA. Could he be better? Because remember around the time Kurt Angle was going into TNA, Sting's there, Scott Steiner's here. Maybe in an alternate universe he could have stayed. But yeah, a fun Falls Count match. They brawl around the arena and all that. And yeah, this is overall gets an 8.5 out of 10. Fun Falls Count match and all that. Samoa Joe won this obviously because Kurt Angles were coming in. And then the Genesis match, which we'll get to later down the line. Because we're still continuing this Gen 6 train. And then the 2011 one. But that's next week, so let's move on from that. Yeah. Anyways, Gail can defeat Sorrell. It was just a calm down match. There's that. There was nothing trash about. Sort of, it's a 3 out of 10. I'm just being generous with that. Anyways, next up is for the TNA X Division Championship. Senshi defeats P. Williams and Jay Lethal. It was another fun X Division match. And yeah, still a fun match. I give it it was a fun match. I give it a 7 out of 10 also. Senshi keeps it and holds it till Bound for Glory, like I said. I already talked about those two already. Anyways, moving on from that. For the World Tag Team Championships, AJ Styles and Chris Rivera defeats LAX. This begins the feud between these two teams. It started as that open contract thing, and then here, which was a great match, then it led to, LAX winning the tag titles to drop them at No Surrender, to the same team, and then led to the final match at the cage match at Bound for Glory, which you all I did those two already. They're on there already. This secondary channel, that is. Because I'm trying to go back to these at a second line and all that. Still, probably the best match on this pay-per-view, and there's that. That's 9 out of 10 I'll give it. 8.9 out of 10 I'll give it, yeah. Finally, the main event for the World Championship. Jeff Jarrett defeats Sting to retain the World Heavyweight Championship in an overbooked match. Jarrett got Scott Steiner in his corner. Sting got Christian in his corner. And it was an overbooked match. Kind of like a WCW type match, really. But we obviously know Sting's not going to win the title here at Hard Justice. He's going to win at Bound for Glory, which, you know. Although the Bound for Glory match was better than this match, I mean, Jerry Sting always fought a lot. Whether WCW or here in TNA, it's over. This was an overbooked mess. Really, I mean, they brawled around the arena because every Jeff Jarrett match in TNA, I obviously know there's gonna be a fucking crowd brawling and all that. Christian Scott kept getting involved in this match to get ejected from it. There's another ref bomb, of course. A shot in the family jewels, of course. Steiner come back and with a slapnuts guitar, of course. Christian got involved with a baseball bat, and then came the finish where we obviously know this was gonna freaking happen because Christian got the guitar, the slapnuts guitar, and then Sting was gonna dive, and Christian hits Sting with the guitar and turning heel in the process. You know, I think it was in Nello because what happened at Victory Road and all that the month prior, and yeah, a 6.5 out of 10 could have been too much interference and all that. Sting would be gone before Bound for Glory, and then I led to the title versus career match at Bound for Glory, where Sting won the title, and Jeff Jarrett would never get another world title ever again in the United States. That is, yeah. Oh, Hard Justice 10-6 was it's a fine pay-per-view, but that man had to drag it down to a 6.5 out of 10. Again, I forgot what it gave these originally, but yeah, Hard Justice 10-6 it's done over with, so yeah. So next week we went back to 2011 TNA for Hardcore Justice. Yeah, it's a blank ass disc, but there's the first cover. It's just this. It's actually a really cool one. But yeah. So we're going back to 2011 and all that, but that's next week here. So stay tuned for that. So there's that. And then on my main channel, you can subscribe to my on that one, so you'll see like movie reviews, action figure, WCW that is, and video game reviews. I'll probably get back to those soon, but still. There. Like this video, comment below, subscribe to this sharing clip, and there.